Right, bit of an update. I haven't been doing, or should I say I haven't been spending a lot of time in here. Obviously I've been away and I've been busy at work when I got back. But I've got the new calipers fitted. If I do the same thing I did with them 4 pots, I'll push the brake lever from up here, so it's freely turning there. It's actually catching, you can hear it catching on the handbrake caliper, but that's the pedal hardly moved at all. That's probably about, let's have a look, probably 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch, that's me letting it off slightly, of travel on the pedal, and it's locked. And if I push hard on the pedal, I just cannot turn them at all. So swapping over from the 4 pots to these 2 pots, I'll lift you off in a second, show you a bit better. But a couple of things. Obviously the Willwood calipers, I can't remember exactly what type they are. I'll put it in the description on when I make the video. But yeah, the 2 pot calipers, obviously had to make new brackets. I don't know if there's an old one kicking about in here. Strange. The old brackets seem to have just disappeared. Weird. I'm sure I saw them a minute ago. Never to worry. No, that's got me stumped. Yeah, but obviously the standard bracket that came with the calipers, the 4 pots that were on the axle when I bought it, I've had to make a new one up, which I'll lift you off in a minute and show you. It has got me baffled as to where they've gone, like, but anyways, made the bracket up, didn't film it because if you remember the bracket that I made in an earlier video for the handbrake caliper, basically a similar setup, just made myself a template up, cut it out, got it all, everything centred, and bolted these on. Now one thing that I will say, the way that the brake line, which again I'll show you in a minute when I lift you off, but the way the brake line bolts onto this caliper is different to how it bolted on to the 4 pots. I've actually got a 4 pot here. You might notice this is covered in dust as well. It's actually filler because I've been doing some work on the mudguards as well. But if you imagine that one was fitted on that way and it went on that way, so I had the angle thing was sat so it bolted on like that. This one's the opposite way around, bolts on that way, so I had to loosen where the brake line goes in under the swing arm and joins the T-piece. I had to loosen the fitting so that I could actually twist the brake line so it would fit on without having a permanent kink in it or out like that. But when I fastened it up and started bleeding these new brakes up, it was leaking out of this side, not out of the caliper bit, but out of where it was bolted into the T-piece. So I had to put a new fitting on where it went into the T-piece. But apart from that, I haven't had any leaks at all in these brake lines. So that's the braking sorted, which is good news. Handbrake calipers I know they work because I've already tested them, but I've got the brackets off at the minute because I've painted them. They've just been brush painted, but what I'll do is I'll just nip you off this tripod, and we'll have a look at this, these Willwood. Zoom out a touch. So that's obviously the caliper, as you can see there, Willwood, and it's not a massive caliper. There's you can see the matte black bracket is the new one. Now you can see there I had to make some spaces to space it out so they were centralised, but I've welded them, they're fully welded down the back side here, tacked on there, tacked on the front. I say tacked, it's a good 5mm, and it's the same on, obviously, on the bottom side, but it's spaced it out so if I can get this camera to sit properly, it's actually sitting centrally on the disc. So I did both sides, as you can see the other one's on there. Rejigged, as I say, all the brake line, and it's in, you can just see in there where the brake line comes from the master cylinder. There's a T-piece underneath there, and it was the one going to this side that leaked after I'd loosened it off to turn it. So yeah, but everything's good now on the brake side. And then when I get the as I say, there's the end of the brake, handbrake cables. The brackets have just been hand painted. I'll just put you back up on this tripod. The brackets have just been hand painted. As I've mentioned probably umpteen times, the paint job on this bike isn't going to be the finished paint job. I've just basically thrown some paint at things, and I want to get it on the road, do a few mile shakedown sort of thing, make sure everything's okay and nothing's going to need sort of altered. Plus, obviously, when it's done, it has to go for an MOT. You know, and there might be something on the MOT where it's, oh, this isn't the thing you have to change. Hopefully there won't be any of that. But I didn't want to paint up or do a fancy paint job and then find out I'm going to cut into it or grind it off or whatever. So it's all sort of temporary paint. But I have done the mudguards. Now, I filled the mudguards and got sort of some semi-shape as to what I was after. And then basically painted them up. Now originally I said I was going to hand paint them, but then I thought, well, if I hand paint them I've got to rub it right back down to get rid of the paint that I've used to hand paint them, sort of thing. So what I've done is I've done a rattle can job, but I've sealed it first with some 2-pack sealer, which I was a bit touch and go at start because it was quite an old, it was some stuff I'd had from a long time ago, so I was hoping that it would actually work properly, and it did. It dried up perfect, but it was clear, which I say that as if I'm surprised. I knew it was a clear, but I haven't actually been able to, I mean, I haven't looked that hard, to be fair, but I haven't actually found any clear 2-pack sealer for spray painting. It's usually like grey or, you know, some other colour, but this stuff was clear. But I laid that onto the bare metal of the mudguards before I even did any filler work. But what I'll do, I'll now put on just a sequence of photos, because I didn't film anything, you know, I just took a few pictures step by step as I was going along. Now, these are rattle can painted, and they look alright-ish, but they are definitely nowhere near a quality paint job. I just wanted to chuck some paint on them, basically. But it does give me, in the long run, a reasonable base to start off when I do the proper paint work. Again, I can like rub this down so it's got a key to it, and then seal it with 2-pack sealer again, and then paint it properly. You know, I don't actually have to rub it right down to bare metal. But as I say, I'll put some pictures up now, and I'll either put some text on, or I'll maybe do a bit of a voiceover explaining. But yeah, we'll do that, and then we'll get cracked on a bit more with this. Right, as you can see, I've fitted the rear mudguards, and this time, just knock stuff all over the floor. What I've done, the only difference, when I've been bolting them on before, I've just been bolting them on with the bolt and washer, but what I've done now is I'm fitting them with spring washers on, because hopefully I won't have to take this back off again. So as you've seen in the pictures, I've got lights. There's lights in the front, white lights obviously for facing forward, and red lights for the back. Now it's more a safety thing. You gotta think, it won't be me that's riding this most of the time, and I want it to be seen at night. And I've done it myself, and this is the gospel truth. I was riding on a relatively wide-ish back country lane at night, and coming towards us, motorbike. Oh, so I thought. It was only he flashed me. To be fair, the car I was in, it had quite bright headlights, and he flashed me. Must have thought I was on main beam, So I just give him a quick flash of my main beam just to let him know I wasn't on, you know, I wasn't trying to dazzle him on purpose or out like that. But as I did it, I caught a reflection off his rear mudguard. He didn't have lights on his rear mudguards facing forward, and I pulled right over to get past him. Now, yes, fair enough, as I got closer I maybe would have seen the reflection off the paintwork on his mudguard, but I didn't see it from a distance. I thought it was a motorbike coming towards us. I didn't realise it was a trike. So these, I've obviously, as you can see, I've put lights in. I want her to be able to be seen, and I want people to realise that it's not just a fucking motorbike coming towards them. So now rang with being safe, and they don't look stupid. It's not. I don't think it's made it look crap just because I've put lights in the mudguards. So I'll just nip these up. Would if I use the right spanner. I don't like you. I've got a spanner here, a ratchet spanner, but it's one where the end bends. And when you try and put a bit of pressure on them, when you're tightening stuff up, the fucker tends to bend on you. And you rattle your knuckles over something. Or it bends, slips off, and you fucking scratch it all. Right, so yeah, mudguards are on. I explained why I'm putting the lights on. The next thing I'm going to put on is the original rear mudguard. The one in the middle, because then I can route my wiring down, because I've got a wire to come into each side to plug in to the lights, and then it'll all get connected in up here somewhere. And these lights are going to be like running lights. They'll just come on, you know, as soon as you turn the bike on, them lights will be on. They're not going to be brake lights, they're just marker lights. And I can show you exactly what I used. Well, I can show you the rear one, what I've used for the rear ones. Just these. I think the 12 volt, 24 volt, I think I'm sure, maybe it says it on the box actually. No, these ones are 12 volt according to the, it's ticked on the 12 volt box, and they're red obviously for the rear lights, and they're basically just marker lights off a wagon or a car, like a van or something like that. But the front ones, again, they're marker lights off, that you'd put on like a truck, but they'll work with 12 volts and 24 volts according to the packaging that came in, but I only bought 2 of them, whereas them red ones, they came in a box of 10. And obviously you're seeing on the pictures, I connected it up with a 12 volt supply, and they worked fine. So, but rather than mounting them on the outside, I welded a couple of studs on the inside and basically bolted them on from the inside of the thing, so it's just the like the plastic bit sticking through. Yeah. So what I'm going to do now, I'll knock you off, you don't need to watch me bolting this, you'll have seen it umpteen times. I'm just going to bolt the rear centre mudguard back on, and get to the point. It won't happen in this video because them brackets, the handbrake brackets that I've said I've just painted up, they'll still be wet. As I say, they've just been brush painted. When eventually, as I keep saying, eventually when I come to paint this thing properly in its new paint job, all the bits that have been painted black by hand like the swing arm for instance, that'll probably end up getting proper powder coated, probably black. The axle, I don't know yet, I might do a decent sort of paint job on it with the proper spray gun, but again it'll be black. Mudguards will be painted in whatever colour we end up deciding on for it. The handbrake mechanism, that'll all be painted in the same colour as the paintwork that we end up with. So, because it's just small bits, I can rub that back down to bare metal and start afresh when I come to paint it. What else was I going to say? Yeah, once I've got, let's say I'll bolt this middle bit on and then I'll do a little bit of wiring. But once the brackets dry, which will probably be in the next video, the brackets are dry and I've got them all fitted back on and got all the handbrake adjusted up to where I'm happy that I'm sort of confident that it'll work for the MOT, you know what I mean. It'll work properly is what I'm trying to say. But it's working equally on both sides as well. Once I get to that stage I can then put the wheels on, which means I can roll it. And I do need to get this thing rolling because I need to get it out. And I don't mean rolling as in take it out for a run, I mean rolling so that I can roll it out of the garage because I seriously need to have a clean up in here. So, right, I'll knock you off for now, I'll come back when I get this middle bit bolted on and we'll see what it looks like then. Back soon. Right, so there's the rear mudguard mounted back up. Bit of paint coming off of that. Yeah, so now that that's on, I can route a wire down. Because one of the things you've got to remember is when this was when it was the motorbike, it had a side mount number plate on it, which also had a rear light on it. So plugged the indicators and stuff back in. I had to snip that because I've just joined it straight in, hardwired it in so to speak without a connector. So that'll be to join back up to that bit there. But then I've got a plug here that's got an out to go into it, and that was the original, the wiring that went to the side mount. So you had your brake light, rear light, etc. There is a strip light on the back of here that you'll remember that I put on. That's what this wire here is. Indicators come on as brake lights. The ring round the outside comes on as brake lights. But I'm still in two minds as to what to do yet on the. I'm going to have a number plate coming down out the back of here, and what I might do is actually mount another light, like I can't think of basically just a little sort of shaped light that's a running light and a brake light that also has lights on for the number plate, and just have it so I double the light up on the back of here. It just gives another brake light as well. So in a sense you'll have running light here, you've got your two rear running lights in each mudguard, front running lights on the front mudguards, you'll have your headlight, they'll be on all times. Then when you press the brake pedal or pull the lever, brake lights will come on the indicators, plus if I do it right on here there'll be another brake light. So might be a bit excessive OTT on the brake lights, but I just want it to be seen. You know, this is my girlfriend riding this eventually when it's finished, and I just want to make sure that, you know, you shouldn't be able to miss a fucking trike, but there is some dumbass fucking drivers out there. So I just want to make it as visible as possible. But yeah, I think for now the thing I've got to do is I've just run the wiring down to plug into, because I don't know if I actually showed it that well, and you won't be able to see under there because it's actually, well, you will be able to see, I think. You can just see it, but what it is, it's the same connectors as what I've got on here. So that's the other half ready to go in the new wiring, like a waterproof plug that goes together. And basically I'll run a wire down each side that runs to each mudguard with them on the ends. That plugs in, it'll obviously be already wired into here. I'm going to use another, I think that's a 3-pin. Yeah, I'll just run another 3-pin plug and I'll just have a spare half sort of thing. So the wiring will come from that plug down to these lights, but it'll also go to the new backlight that I end up putting in as well. So I think for now I'll call it a day on this video clip, and then hopefully next time I on the next video the wiring will be done. My bracketry for the handbrake will be finished, it'll be dry, so I can fit all that back on, which also means I'll be putting the exhaust back on, because as you remember the front bracket on the thing bolts to the exhaust bracket. So that'll all get put back on. I'll adjust the handbrake calipers so that they're working as they should be, and then we're at the point where I can put the wheels on and get it rolling. So, but for now it's just a quick update. It's getting there slowly, a lot slower than I originally anticipated, and it's fault of my own. You know, if you remember right back at the beginning, I said that's once this starts I'm taking nothing else in, I'm doing nothing else. Well, I had fucking loads to do, so that idea went out the window. Plus, as I was saying, I want to get it wheeled out so I can clean up in here. I mean, the mess I made when I was doing the, where's the clip at? When I was doing the mudguards, just to give you an idea, that's the tank. If I zoom in a bit, oh, you can see that's just covered in dust. This whole fucking garage is covered, well, the seat even, you know, it's just covered. That's filler. That's from when I was rubbing the mudguards down. It went fucking everywhere. But quick thingy from the front. You know, the back end's looking tidy-ish, and as I say, you get the front lights. You know, and as I say, the mudguards, they're far from being anywhere near what you class as perfect. But yeah, it's looking tidy enough for now. So, right, let's say for now I'll call it a day and I'll get cracked on with this wiring. Right, catch you next time. Just a quickie while I remember. When I come to, before I started filling all the mudguards and setting it all up, as you know, from when I made the mudguards, there were different lengths and stuff, and they needed cut down. The way I set it all up, I bolted the mudguards in place. These were just in bare metal, not obviously painted. Bolted the 2 rear mudguards in place, got the bike, so trike, whatever you want to call it, got it set so it was level, and then I have a laser level which I set up at the front, so I could actually turn it from one side to the other, and it put laser light at the level I wanted, and I marked it all up, and then cut. That's when I cut everything to the finished sort of size. Now that set the front up so that when you look at it from the front, the 2 fronts are level. obviously to get it over the back I just used, to start with I measured it, thought right, this is about where I want it at the back, so I measured to where I wanted it at the back, and then I made like just a strip, nothing technical, just a strip of paper to that sort of length, and once I'd cut the fronts so that they were right, I stuck the paper on, like sellotaped it in place, pulled it over and then marked it with a marker, did the same thing right across, which gives us my line across the backs of both of them, and then I cut the backs, and then it was a case of like grind it all up, etc, etc, you know, make it a bit tidier, and seal it, fill it, etc, etc. But yeah, I just thought I'd let you know that's how I got my mudguards, so that they were both the same. Use a laser level set up at the front. All this was set up level, swing arm was level, bike was level, etc, etc. And then put the laser light on and marked right across where the laser light hit. So I had it all level on both sides basically. Just thought I'd get that one in. So it made life a bit easy, because to start with I was trying to just eye it through, and like I put a little mark on here and there, and then stood at the front and eyed it through and thought right, that's about there. Took the mudguards off, put them together, and the fucking lines were miles out from each other, if you know what I mean. And I thought, this isn't, you know, to give you an idea, again covered in dust and it's only part of it, but that was one part of the mudguard that got cut off. I don't know whether that was a rear or a front, which side it was off, I can't remember now, but it gives you an idea of how much has been cut off. And it wasn't much. There's another bit actually. These bits have still got the masking tape on from where I put the marks on. You know how I'd roughly cut it. So that came off one side, that came off the other, as in one came off one side and one came off, alright, I'll start again. One came off the left side and one came off the right side, so not front and rear. So they were both off the fronts, which gives you an idea how much difference there was when I'd rough cut them down to size. But yeah, that was another thing I didn't mention. I put masking tape across, then put the laser across it so that marked it where the laser landed on both sides, and then just cut it off at that. So a very easy way it turned out, a lot easier than trying to fucking eye it up. Cool as. Right, catch you later.